Imagine a teenage emperor, draped in silks and glittering makeup, striding through Rome's bustling forum, defying every rule of power and gender in the 3rd century CE. Elagabalus, crowned at 14, sought surgeries to align body with soul, married a charioteer in a public spectacle, and challenged an empire's rigid norms. How could one ruler's audacity spark both scandal and inspiration? This is the story of a transgender icon who reshaped history, a tale of courage that echoes in today's fight for identity.
If Elagabalus' bold story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment to join our journey through queer history. Your support keeps these untold stories alive. Let's celebrate the icons who shaped our past.
In the 3rd century CE, Rome teetered on the edge of chaos, its empire sprawling, yet fractured by political intrigue and cultural clashes. Amid this turbulent world, a teenage emperor named Elagabalus rose to power in 218 CE, crowned at just 14. Born Varius Avitus Bassianus, this young ruler from Syria defied every expectation of Roman tradition. Elagabalus openly wore women's clothing, adorned their face with makeup, and, according to ancient sources like Cassius Dio, sought surgeries to affirm their gender identity, acts unthinkable in a society bound by rigid gender roles. As emperor, they wielded immense power, reshaping religious practices and marrying a charioteer named Hierocles in a public display of love that scandalized the elite. Their reign, though brief, was a bold challenge to the norms of an empire obsessed with control. Elagabalus' story isn't just a historical curiosity, it's a powerful testament to living authentically against overwhelming odds. For today's queer audience, their defiance echoes in modern fights for trans rights and visibility, proving that even 1,800 years ago, courage could rewrite history. Join us as we uncover the life of Elagabalus, a ruler whose audacity still inspires, revealing how one person's truth can ripple through time, sparking hope and resilience in the face of oppression.
In the heart of the Roman Empire, where marble columns pierced the sky and the roar of the Colosseum echoed through crowded streets, a young figure emerged to challenge the very foundations of power and identity. Elagabalus, crowned emperor at just 14, was no ordinary ruler. Their story, woven with defiance, love, and tragedy, is a beacon for anyone who has ever dared to live authentically. Let's step into the 3rd century CE and unravel the life of a transgender emperor who shook Rome to its core. Born around 204 CE in Emesa, modern-day Syria, Varius Avitus Bassianus grew up far from Rome's glittering capital. Their family, the Severan dynasty, was steeped in ambition and tied to the cult of the sun god Elagabal, from which the future emperor took their name. Their grandmother, Julia Maesa, was a political mastermind navigating the treacherous waters of Roman succession after the assassination of Emperor Caracalla in 217 CE. The empire was in turmoil, with the Praetorian Guard holding sway over who wore the purple.
At 14, Varius was thrust into the spotlight as a candidate for emperor, a pawn in Julia Maesa's scheme to restore Severan rule. Proclaimed emperor in 218 CE, they took the name Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, but history remembers them as Elagabalus, after their beloved deity. Their youth and Syrian heritage made them an outsider in Rome's elite circles, yet their charisma and divine claims captivated soldiers and citizens alike. But beneath the imperial pomp, Elagabalus was already defying expectations, their hearts set on a truth that would scandalize an empire. This was no typical ascent to power. Elagabalus's foreign roots and youthful exuberance set them apart, but so did their refusal to conform to Roman ideals of masculinity. Ancient sources, like the historian Cassius Dio, note their preference for silken robes and delicate adornments, even as a teenager. These early signs of gender nonconformity were more than youthful rebellion. They were a declaration of identity in a world that prized stoic, militaristic manhood. For a modern queer audience, this resonates deeply. A teenager, burdened with an empire, daring to express their truth against a backdrop of rigid tradition.
Elagabalus's reign from 218 to 222 CE was a whirlwind of audacity. They openly embraced a feminine presentation, wearing makeup, women's clothing, and wigs, according to the Augustan History, a collection of imperial biographies. More strikingly, ancient sources claim they sought physicians to perform gender-affirming surgeries, a request that stunned even Rome's cosmopolitan elite. While these accounts, written by critics like Cassius Dio, may carry bias, they paint a picture of a ruler determined to live authentically, centuries before modern concepts of transgender identity emerged. This boldness sparked outrage among Rome's senators and traditionalists. The Senate, a bastion of conservative power, saw Elagabalus's gender expression as an affront to Roman dignity. Whispers of effeminacy and debauchery swirled, fueled by Elagabalus's refusal to hide their identity. They adorned the imperial palace with vibrant tapestries and hosted lavish banquets where they danced with a grace that defied masculine norms. For a modern audience, these acts are a powerful echo of queer resilience, living loudly in a world that demands conformity. Yet the controversies weren't just about gender. Elagabalus's devotion to the sun god, Elagabalus, alienated Rome's traditionalists. They declared their deity superior to Jupiter, erecting a grand temple on the Palatine Hill and parading a sacred black stone through the streets. This religious upheaval, combined with their gender nonconformity, painted Elagabalus as a reckless outsider. To a queer viewer today, their defiance feels like a rebellion against systems that suppress individuality, a reminder of the courage it takes to challenge societal norms.
Elagabalus's political decisions were as bold as their personal expression. They appointed lovers and allies to high offices, bypassing Rome's entrenched aristocracy. Most famously, they married Hierocles, a former slave and charioteer, in a public ceremony that shocked the empire. Cassius Dio records Elagabalus referring to Hierocles as their husband, a radical act in a society where same-sex relationships, while not uncommon, were rarely formalized in such a public way. This marriage wasn't just a personal choice, it was a political statement, elevating a low-born man to imperial prominence and challenging Rome's class and gender hierarchies. Their reign also saw attempts to reform the empire's religious and social structures. Elagabalus opened their court to diverse figures, Syrians, freedmen, and those outside Rome's elite, reflecting a vision of inclusivity rare for the time. But these moves alienated the powerful Praetorian Guard and Senate, who saw their authority eroding. Elagabalus's policies, while visionary, were often impulsive, and their youth, barely 18 at their reign's end, made it hard to navigate Rome's cutthroat politics. The emotional weight of their story hits hard for a modern queer audience. Elagabalus's love for Hierocles, their insistence on living as their true self, mirrors the struggles of many today who fight for acceptance in hostile systems. Their marriage, though mocked by contemporaries, stands as a testament to love's power to defy convention, a story that resonates with anyone who has ever fought to love freely. Elagabalus's reign ended tragically in 222 CE, when they were assassinated by the Praetorian Guard at just 18. Their grandmother, Julia Maesa, orchestrated their downfall, replacing them with their cousin, Severus Alexander, to preserve the dynasty. Elagabalus's name was erased from monuments, their statues defaced, and their story buried under centuries of slander. Ancient historians like Herodian branded them as decadent, using their gender nonconformity to justify their murder. But history's judgment isn't the full story. Elagabalus's brief reign left ripples that echo through time. They were among the first recorded figures to openly pursue gender-affirming practices, a courage that speaks to modern trans communities. Their insistence on living authentically, despite an empire's scorn, challenges the sanitized narratives of Roman history, which often erase queer voices. For a queer audience today, Elagabalus is a symbol of resistance, a reminder that even in the most oppressive systems, individuals can carve out space for their truth. Their story also highlights the complexity of historical queerness. Ancient Rome had no direct equivalent to modern transgender identity, yet Elagabalus's actions, seeking surgery, embracing femininity, loving openly, suggest a profound self-awareness. Scholars today debate how much of their story was exaggerated by hostile sources, but the core remains. Elagabalus lived boldly, refusing to be confined by Rome's expectations. This resonates with modern viewers who see parallels in the fight against transphobia and societal pressure to conform. Elagabalus's legacy isn't just in their defiance, but in their humanity. They were a teenager navigating unimaginable power, surrounded by enemies, yet they chose to live as their true self. Their story reminds us that queerness has always existed, even in the highest echelons of power, and that courage can outlast empires. For a modern audience, Elagabalus isn't just a historical figure, they're an inspiration, a call to live authentically, no matter the cost. As we reflect on their life, we see a thread connecting past to present, the struggle to be seen, to be loved, to be free. Elagabalus's story, though buried for centuries, burns brightly today, a testament to the enduring power of living one's truth in a world that often demands silence. Their brief, blazing reign proves that even in the shadow of empires, a single voice can echo through time, inspiring generations to come.
Elagabalus's life, though brief, was a blazing defiance of an empire's rigid norms, a testament to the courage it takes to live authentically. Crowned emperor at 14 in 218 CE, they dared to wear silks and makeup, sought gender-affirming surgeries, and loved openly, marrying a charioteer named Hierocles in a public act that shocked Rome's elite. Their story, buried under centuries of slander by historians like Cassius Dio, reveals a truth that resonates deeply today. Queerness has always existed, even in the highest halls of power. Elagabalus's refusal to conform, despite the weight of an empire's scorn, marks them as a pioneering transgender figure, one whose audacity challenged the very foundations of Roman politics. Their reign, though ending in betrayal and assassination at 18, left ripples that echo in modern conversations about identity and acceptance. For today's queer audience, Elagabalus's story is more than a historical footnote, it's a beacon of resilience. Their courage mirrors the struggles of trans individuals fighting for visibility and rights in a world that often demands conformity. The emotional weight of their journey, a teenager navigating unimaginable power while staying true to themselves, speaks to anyone who has faced rejection for who they are. Elagabalus's life reminds us that authenticity is a radical act, one that can inspire change long after the statues crumble. Their legacy challenges us to question sanitized histories and celebrate the voices that dared to speak, even when the world wasn't ready to listen. This story is a call to honor those who paved the way, to recognize that the fight for inclusivity stretches back centuries. Elagabalus's defiance lives on in every step toward equality, in every heart that dares to love and live freely. Next time, we'll uncover another hidden figure whose forbidden love reshaped a kingdom's destiny. Join us to explore how their passion defied an era's rules, proving that love can conquer even the mightiest empires.
Loved Elagabalus's fearless story? Hit like, share this video, and subscribe to dive deeper into queer history's untold tales. Join our community to celebrate the rebels who shaped our past. Check out our queer history playlist for more stories of courage and defiance. Let's keep their legacy alive.